What's up, guys? Joey with Minnesota Motors here, and today we're going to be replacing the intake and exhaust manifolds on my 1949 Ford. So this is a 1949 Ford four-door custom. I bought it when I was 15. It's my first car, and I haven't really done very much with it yet. I'm planning on doing a full build in the future, but I'm kind of just saving this for later. It's powered by a 226 cubic inch Flathead 6-cylinder, and the exhaust manifold, can't really see it with this hose in the way, has been cracked since I bought the car, and the car has just never run very well, and exhaust fumes have always been leaking in the cabin. And I finally found the right part, and we're going to fix it. Before we get started on that, I'm going to go over to the truck and just give you guys a quick update on that, since I haven't made a video about that in a while. So let's go. So it's been in storage for most of the winter, but I've done a few things. I upgraded to 80 to 96 door seal, because the old ones were pretty rough. And I put new door panels on it. I finally got a door panel for this door. I've had the truck for almost 2 years and have never had a door panel there. We also welded up a big crack that was in the door. I'll put a picture in of that. Here is the crack. It was pretty big and it squeaked and made a lot of noise. And here's the filler panel that we made and welded in. I have new door sill plates on this side. I still need to do the gasket and the plate on that side. There's the other new door panel. And I also put in different springs in the distributor, and the truck is running a little bit better. So yeah, this is what we're going to be installing. It's a combination intake and exhaust manifold, pretty typical of an inline six. This one is for a car, and this one is for a truck motor. I accidentally bought this a few years ago, and I didn't know that there was a difference between the two. And the difference is where the exhaust exits. On the truck, it's in the front. In the car, it's in the back. And these manifolds have a tendency to crack. As you can see right here, this one's actually been brazed back together. This one's still good. And the one in my car is cracked, and it's missing this piece here. I'm going to get started and disconnect this heater hose, and then we can start pulling the carburetor off. Get this out of the way. And now my neighbor is weed whipping. Ugh, this hose is on here. Ugh. Now that I got that coolant drained, I can start taking off the carburetor. This is the fuel line. This takes a 1/2 inch. Vacuum for the wipers, 1/2 inch. And then there is a line back here going to the distributor, and that is 7/16. And then the nuts for the carburetor right here are 9/16. And then there's a little throttle rod that I'll have to disconnect. disconnect the throttle rod. This is spring loaded. I'll show you what that looks like in a sec. Oop, forgot about that. Take it off right here, I guess. This is what the carburetor linkage looks like. It's spring loaded. You can just push that up, and that's how you get that disconnected from the carburetor. And since we have this off the engine, my dad is gonna rebuild this off camera. Before I start removing the manifolds, I'm just gonna remove the carb linkage in this bracket here. This is just held on with 2 half-inch nuts and this little clamp type thing. And then there's a little clip right here that you just have to pop up. Here's the clamp. And there's the clip. I'm going to heat these nuts up with a torch and then slowly remove them. Uh-oh. Well, as you can see, the stud came out, not the nut, and I was not expecting a bunch of coolant to drain out of there. I guess I should have heated this up longer. Also, I forgot to remove the 2 bolts going to the exhaust pipe down there. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll take care of the rest of these nuts, or hopefully the rest of the studs stay in there, but we'll see. Actually, I'm going to cut the exhaust. There's a carriage bolt on the back side that someone added, and that's going to be really hard to remove. There we go. Now that I got this exhaust taken care of, I'm going to keep working on these nuts. I probably won't film all of them just because it's kind of boring. Looks like a few of these I'm going to need just to have to use a wrench for, but we'll see. There's more coolant. Be careful with the torch if you have a valve cover leak like I do. I kind of forgot about that. Don't really want to light this on fire. At least this nut is coming off. Alright, 8 nuts and 3 studs later, this manifold is unbolted and ready to come off. It's stuck on there, so I'm going to hit it with the dead blow a few times and try and get it off. Oh. That was easy. Get this over here. And this is why I was replacing this. I didn't loosen up these bolts at all. This is a carriage bolt, and someone had a washer trying to clamp this down, and it clearly didn't work. Also, this flange is the wrong size, so I'm going to have some new exhaust made up once I put the new manifold on. Now I'm going to give the new manifolds a quick coat of paint. After I primered this, I noticed that the exhaust control valve here is stuck, and it's stuck in the wrong position. So I'm going to have to take this apart and get that freed up. I ended up separating the intake and exhaust manifolds so I could get at the exhaust control valve a little bit better. I heated it up with a torch and used a block of wood and just bent the door so it matched that one. And now I'm going to put some thermo steel on there just to make sure it doesn't move. And then I'll clean everything up, put the gasket on, bolt the intake and exhaust manifolds back together, re-primer everything, and then paint it. Since we're already this far torn apart, I think I'm going to change the valve cover gaskets too. This is pretty cool. I've never opened up a flathead before, and you can see all the valves in there. I'm just going to scrape all that off and clean it with a Scotch-Brite pad and do the same with these guys. Okay, I've got the valve covers cleaned up and I have the engine block cleaned up. And now I'm going to just take some gasket sealant and put that on the gaskets and then stick those onto the valve covers. And these are the gaskets I'm using, Fel-PRO VS 2976. Now that I got these prepped, I'm going to install them. I didn't see a torque spec for these in the manual, so I'm just going to tighten them down until they're snug. Got the valve covers on. There's just a 1/2-inch nut on the stud that holds it in place. And I think they look pretty good. I've got the manifolds painted and the studs reinstalled, the mating surfaces clean, and I've got the new gaskets installed. The part number for the gaskets is Fel-PRO MS8793B. And we are ready to install the manifolds. Alright, well, I got the manifolds on. Everything's torqued to about 25 foot-pounds. I had to use a wrench to get at some of those inner nuts. And then I didn't think I was going to be able to get a torque wrench on that one and that one here, but luckily I was able to. Now that I've got the manifold torqued down, I'm going to reinstall my carb linkage and then put the carburetor on. after looking at that exhaust flange a little bit closer, it looks like I can put it on, but it's not going to seal very well. So I'm going to just put that on temporarily and then hook up the heater hose and top off the coolant, and then we'll be able to fire it up. Well, it started and ran pretty good, but I noticed fuel was leaking at the carburetor a little bit, and then fuel was leaking at one of the fittings near the fuel pump. So we're gonna get that figured out and then run it up to the exhaust shop and get some exhaust made. We got those leaks figured out, and now I'm gonna run the car up to the exhaust shop. When we get back, I'll do a quick walk around and we'll take a look at it. Got the car back from the exhaust shop. Let me start it up so you guys can hear it. This is what the exhaust looks like. It's just a stock style muffler and pipe. Well, I think the car sounds pretty good, so that's going to do it for this episode. This one took me a long time to make. Hopefully I'll be putting out some more videos a little bit sooner for you guys. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.